This episode is brought to you by the Arvada Center, because they're kicking off their summer concert series in June. Relax under the stars at the Arvada Center's outdoor amphitheater and take in acts like Melissa Etheridge, Big Richard, Tower of Power, Preservation Hall Jazz Band, The Spin Doctors, and so much more. Concerts are scheduled for June through September. You can find a whole schedule of events and get your tickets today at arvadacenter.org. That's arvadacenter.org. Today on CityCast Denver, newcomers from Venezuela say our food is too spicy, and now they're demanding better from the mayor. So me and producer Paul Caroli are digging into what's behind the quote-unquote spicy food problem. Plus, a long-awaited Hot Springs expansion is opening soon, and the Nuggets somehow scrape their way back into the series with the Timberwolves. Today is Tuesday, May 14th. I'm Bree Davies, and here's what Denver's talking about. Hey, Paul.
Hey, good morning, Bree.
Good morning.
We're having a week, huh?
It's just started, but I mean, I think you're alluding to how I'm feeling about the Nuggets.
We can talk about the Nuggets. We should talk about it in a second. We're going to talk actually about the Boebert project. Actually, that's what I was talking about.
Both of those things, yes.
It has got me all twisted up.
Top of my mind as well. So we released a trailer for this special project we've been working on. Last week we released it. It's called Lauren Boebert Can't Lose. But Paul, do you want to just talk a little bit more about what is going on?
With the project? I mean, there's so much going on with it. We were working on Saturday a little bit. We went out to a campaign forum.
In Bennett?
The Congressional District 4 campaign forum, and the Congresswoman was there. Mm-hmm. And I'm not going to talk more about what happened at that event, although it's a story I look forward to telling at some point. But yeah, I mean, we have this trailer that came out last week. We saw lots of reactions to it, lots of very strong reactions. I mean, it's no secret people have strong feelings about Congresswoman Lauren Boebert. I think we knew that. That's why we got into it. But what I was not prepared for was by putting this out there, we would kind of take on some of the attention and some of the focus of those emotions. And there's just some stuff that I want to be clear about before we get into this.
Yeah, maybe. What do you want to clarify there?
Well, I think we were confusing in how we've presented it so far. And I just want people to know directly, like, this is not taking over your feed. CityCast Denver is going to continue to be CityCast Denver. We're going to talk to people about what's going on in Denver for the next 5 weeks while this Lauren Boebert project is happening. Simultaneously, parallel. We'll probably talk about it at some point because it's still the news. It's still our community. But we want you all to know we're not going anywhere. But if you want to dive deeper with us on this thing that has been so challenging and so fascinating and, I mean, upsetting at times.
We're still learning a lot.
We got really mad at each other, I think, a few times during this project.
Yeah.
But we're in a better place at this exact moment.
Yeah. Well, because, I mean, her primary is coming up. This has been a big conversation. We even had this conversation on the show. I mean, we've talked about Ken Buck, leaving his position, her jumping districts. So this is a conversation about Colorado politics. But I think what you're trying to say, though, is this is happening separate from our regular shows.
Yes.
We're still CityCast Denver. We're still doing the same shows, the same kind of shows that you come to expect and love and tune into every morning. But if you're also interested in this other project we're working on, we have a whole separate feed for that.
It's called Lauren Boebert Can't Lose. Go ahead, subscribe to it now. We might put a bonus episode on this feed over the weekend or something. It really depends on how you all respond to it. I don't know how people are going to respond to it, but let us know what you think. There is one comment that we got on the trailer. Can I share this? This is just so surprising. I thought this was really interesting.
Yeah.
This was a comment. Now, some people were like, Lauren Boebert, hate her, which fine.
Expected.
But then some people were like this one, friend from Den, which I am assuming that is someone who's identifying as they're from Denver.
Yes.
And then they wrote, I love her. Talking about Congresswoman Boebert, I love her simply because the people I strongly dislike go crazy when anything happens with her. It's like Trump just reading her name makes the liberals lose all logic and start saying the craziest, most unhinged stuff. Makes the right stronger to have a few like her, lol. Which is like, that's someone who loves her, who's saying they're from Denver. I guess I didn't think about someone like that being out there.
I don't know. I think it gets to the heart of this issue and this conversation and this topic is it's very polarizing.
Yeah.
She's very polarizing. The conversation is very polarizing. Again, we are continuing to have this conversation, but don't worry.
Yeah.
That is not happening here.
No, but we do want to invite you to listen with us and go on this journey because it's exciting.
We've been working on this for months. It's parallel to what we do here, but it's equally something we're passionate about. So,
all right, give me your Nuggets take.
Oh my God. Well, I had to be at my own Mother's Day dinner this weekend, so I couldn't watch the Nuggets game in full.
Mm-hmm. You couldn't watch Game 4?
Yeah. So I was following it under the table on my phone. Like a dad. But they did great. And I just wanted to say that because Friday when I had Bruce Trujillo and Joshua Emerson on the show, I was so disappointed in their behavior, like two big losses. It was just so embarrassing. Then Friday night we had this epic game, and then Sunday night we had an even more epic game. Well, no, we smoked them
twice.
Yeah, we smoked them twice. So I just was feeling so good, and I'm back. The Nuggets are back. I'm feeling good. I feel like everyone who loves the Nuggets is feeling a lot better. We still have a ways to go, but they were like zombies those first two games. Someone had taken over their bodies, but they're back. So if you want to jump into the Nuggets, if you want to jump on the Nuggets bandwagon, right now is a perfect time.
It's so time. And the series is tied up. It's coming back to Denver. 3 more games. We'll see what happens. I think the Wolves are a great team. Should be really fun.
And they shoot. So, I mean, that's the thing is they've put up a real fight. So it's fun to watch. And I'm enjoying it. This episode is brought to you by Pine Melon, the farmer's market delivered. Pine Melon is a next-generation grocery delivery app that partners with over 200 farmers, ranchers, and producers in Colorado to help make fresh, locally sourced foods available to the Denver community at fair prices. Get high-quality meats, eggs, and dairy from small local farms, fresh baked breads from local bakeries, and more, as well as all of your favorite pantry staples. Best part is, Pine Melon offers same-day delivery to Denver and soon Boulder within a 2-hour window, no subscription necessary. Save time in your busy schedule and get fresh and healthy groceries delivered right to your door. Join the movement and support local today. Use promo code CityCastDenver for $75 off your first delivery at pinemelon.com. That's pinemelon.com.
Weighing in with soybeans and a baby show straight out of Norburn, Missouri, we have Soybean Festival. From Hayward, Wisconsin, at 73 years young with the world's largest muskie statue, put it together for Muskie Fest. Finally, packing a punch with fire dancing and a pet costume contest, the Roseau, Minnesota Fall Harvest Fest. One of these festivals could win $100,000 in the Cenex Hometown Throwdown. You decide. Cast your vote at CenexHometownThrowdown.com. Cenex, powered locally.
Okay, let's get to our first topic, spicy food and the newcomer situation. Paul, what is I saw this headline pop up in a couple different places last week. What is the deal with this spicy food issue and some of the newcomers here in Denver?
Well, this is something I've just sort of slowly been picking up on the last few weeks, that there is something going on. There's like a conversation happening, and I didn't really understand it. It started for me when I saw this report in Westward. They were basically saying that a lot of newcomers from Venezuela have been struggling with the food here, especially the food in shelters and some of the food donations, because it's too spicy. That was what the article was about. And there's a quote here. There's about a donation someone dropped off. Apparently, boxes and boxes of spicy Cheetos. Someone dropped them off to a migrant encampment, and nobody wanted to eat them. They're really spicy to us, and we're just afraid they're going to waste. So
that was Cheetos are going to waste. I don't want to eat those either, to be fair.
Yeah, for me. I'm not a Flamin' Hot Cheetos person at all, actually. You don't like spice.
I don't. I tolerate it, but I don't like it. But I mean, this is really a conversation about like people just like probably just needing some basic nutrition and this not necessarily matching what their palates are used to.
Yeah, that's what it seemed like in this first article. I mean, it seemed like there was some health potential problems, like the difference between pinto beans and black beans, and then like the lack of porta potties at these encampments outside.
Oh
you
gosh.
can understand a little bit what I'm
100%.
talking about.
Yes.
Yeah. And spicy food, like you can see how that might be an issue. But I think I didn't really totally understand what was happening because it was just like, how spicy, like how much of the food can really be that spicy that this is affecting people's nutrition? So then I was talking to some folks who work close to city council, and I was just like, what's up? What's happening? What's new? And they were like, well, this spicy food situation is still a problem. And I was like, this might be a bigger thing than I realized. And then I saw this article last week from KDVR with the headline, Group of Migrants Sends List of Demands to Denver's Mayor.
Oh.
And so this is a group of people who live in a camp. Now, KDVR just said it's near train tracks and under a bridge. So I think these are people who are living in tents right now who are saying we are not going into the shelters because they're not as good as what we're experiencing here in this place where we've chosen to set up our camp and live. And one of their demands was, number one, migrants will cook their own food with fresh, culturally appropriate ingredients provided by the city instead of pre-made meals, which means like rice, chicken, flour, oil, butter, tomatoes, onions, etc. Also, people will not be punished for bringing in and eating outside food, which is like people are being punished for bringing outside food into shelters because they can't get the food they want in the shelters.
Does that I honestly, I have no experience with this, so I don't know what the food situation is.
Same. And then even more, like, and this is where things were like, oh, this is a really big issue to me. KDVR had a quote from this migrant advocate named V. Reeves, who said, there have been so many complaints about the food being spoiled or not enough and malnutrition amongst children.
The spoiled food thing is interesting because I remember, or at least like just not being what is meeting the nutritional needs of whoever's getting those donations. And I think back to, I had a friend that worked at Denver Food Rescue, and they would get some big donations sometimes of food, and it would sometimes be spoiled, or it would just be things that they didn't want to even give their clientele.
Yeah.
And I think that's the misconception sometimes, is like, well, you should just take what you get. Well, like, sometimes it's not good food.
Yeah. I mean, I have some personal experience with this. I remember I volunteered for a few years at the St. Francis Center, which is like a day shelter for people experiencing homelessness. They would get food donations all the time. Like every couple of, maybe every other day that I would work there, at some point in the day, someone would come in and just be like, hey, they're serving burritos out around the block, at this church or out of this truck. And then there'd be a bunch of people that would go out and go grab a burrito. It'd be like bean and cheese or like chicharron or something not so out of the ordinary, at least not in my conception of, local food culture.
Sure.
So I've just seen some of the food that's in these shelters. It's like these kinds of burritos you get, but then you get a lot of donations from religious organizations. So it's pretty common to see like a brown bag lunch with maybe some white bread, slice of cheese, slice of ham, and like a little Post-it note with like some Jesus stuff on it, like some scripture. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. You just get all kinds of that kind of stuff. Yeah.
So it may not be meeting just folks' needs.
Yeah, maybe. It's hard to say. Because it's not all organized from one place. Because the food's all coming from a bunch of different people.
Yeah. I mean, this is a food systems issue too.
Yeah.
Think about food access and stuff. So you reached out to somebody to find out more about this.
Yeah, I was just curious, like, what's the reality of the food situation that migrants are looking at here? So I reached out to this person, a source who I know worked in the shelters. She got a job there back when they were really expanding services for newcomers. And she's since left because they have contracted. But what she told me was, and this was such a beautiful email. I want to read you a bunch of quotes from this. She says, so as far as the food goes, it's kind of like what airplane meals used to be. It comes in little divided plastic trays with plastic shrink wrap on the top. There's a main dish and a side or two of veggies. The food is prepared off-site and delivered hot in thermal boxes to keep them warm just shortly before mealtimes. All meals must be disposed of no more than 4 hours after arrival due to food safety temperature rules.
Okay. Interesting.
So it's not like buffet style or anything. It's not like you're getting a scoop of broccoli. You're getting like your own very specific,
kind of
discrete,
like a TV dinner.
Yeah, like one meal for one person. Like this is, you can see how this is some big system where people are like, we need to order 500 meals. We got 500 people. How do we make sure 500 people get fed? 500 individual meals.
That makes sense.
Yeah. Anyway, my source goes on. I think the menu can get repetitive for the folks who eat all 3 meals a day in the shelters, which I think is a good amount of people, or who are staying there for more than a month. There's also not much in the way of variety within each meals. That said, the shelters were always meant to be short-term transitional housing, not the multi-month stays that many, many families ended up with over the winter months.
So it is just kind of a matter of just like, it's serving a population it's not meant to be serving for that long. So that repetition
it would get worse and worse. I mean,
sure.
This is
Especially
one of the things.
if it's food you're not used to, or it's just like not your palate.
And that gets to the next quote here. My source says she has noticed that meals with the Latin American staple ingredients like beans and rice with chicken tend to get preference over more unfamiliar fare like Asian-style pot stickers. Anecdotally, I've heard several people ask, what's that when served meals with a side of mashed potatoes? Which is like, this is just all a learning opportunity.
Yeah.
I think that's where I'm at is like, I want to know more about Venezuelan food. But then here's a great quote from my source. She says, I'm guessing that's not a common presentation of potatoes in Venezuela. I've also heard complaints of too spicy when the only condiment was black pepper.
And maybe, but if that's not a staple spice for you, you're just not used to how it tastes.
Totally. And flavor's so subjective too. Like
100%.
if the rest of your diet has no spice in it and you're getting black pepper, like, I don't know. I mean, that's not me. But so I do have a bias here, but yeah.
I mean, this is talking about flavor. This is talking about textures, which is huge in food. If you're not used to a texture like mashed potatoes versus like roasted potatoes or some other way that they're prepared, this can just be really, I don't know. I just imagine if I was in a moment of crisis or stress and I'm really hungry and I'm not familiar with the food, I mean, it just adds another layer to that stressful experience. So
yeah,
I see where these folks are coming from.
Yeah. Well, I hope that was informative for folks because I saw that article last week from KDVR about migrants sending demands. That was like such bait for conservative talking points around this. And it's like, I don't think that's really right. Like, let's talk about what's really happening here.
Yeah, I saw that too. And it was like, I don't know about that. Especially, yeah. So, okay, well, interesting. We'll be continuing to follow that as this is an ongoing issue as we help support these newcomers in our city. We'll take a quick break and we'll be back with more news.
At Evernorth Health Services, we believe costs shouldn't get in the way of life-changing care, and we're doing everything in our power to make it possible. Behavioral health solutions that also keep your projections at their best? It's possible. Pharmacy benefits that benefit your bottom line? It's possible. Complex specialty care that cares about your ROI? It's possible. Because we're already doing it. All while saving businesses billions. That's Wonder made possible. Learn more at evernorth.com/wonder.
All right, we're back.
We're back.
We got some fun news that I know you care about just as much as I do, Bree.
Oh my God.
As a fellow Hot Springs lover.
Oh my God.
The Denver Post reported this morning that the long-awaited expansion at the Glenwood Springs Hot Springs is going to be completed and open by the end of the month.
I can't wait. Okay, first of all, because I feel like I've been to Glenwood at least 3 times since they started this project. So
you go a lot.
I do. It's one of my favorite. It's one of my favorite places in Colorado. Again, it's very family friendly, and so that's what I love about it. But yeah, they took out a 20-stall parking lot on the east end, and they added 5 new smaller pools, along with another pergola and fireplace. So they've just expanded and sort of diversified the options that they have at Glenwood Springs.
Because the old way it was there's this one big pool and
it's
it's
like an
kind of shallow.
Olympic-sized pool.
Yeah, and it's very, very kid friendly.
Yeah, and it's also but it's not so shallow that you can't swim. Like there's lap swimming in it. There's a deep end with a diving board, but it is like it kind of reminded me of like it's like a massive rec center pool.
Yeah, and it gets hot in some places, but not like super, super hot. Like Iron Mountain down the road we have to talk about.
Yes.
That's a more adult-oriented hot
100%.
springs. Also in Glenwood Springs, newer, clearly setting themselves up to compete with the Glenwood Springs Hot Springs clientele.
Yeah, but I think what they did, and you kind of just touched on this, is it's more for adults.
Mm-hmm.
Iron Mountain is more adult-oriented in terms of the temperature of the pools, like you said. They have so Iron Mountain has had varying degrees of smaller pools. They had a cold plunge pool. They have a bar. And if you go there, it feels like it's more for adults.
I was there in the evening once. It was downright clubby.
Yeah, the vibe.
People were meeting each other.
Which is and I think they set themselves out to be that way. And Glenwood Springs, like the big pool, is very different. Mm. And I think that what I do like is that Iron Mountain came on the scene and it kind of gave Glenwood a run for their money for that demographic. Mm-hmm. So I think they had to improve, which I mean, I love that. I've loved that pool since I've been going since the 80s, and it hadn't changed much. They'd updated some things, but the pools themselves hadn't really changed. And so I think they really saw like we gotta we got to upgrade. So they added some similar pools to how Iron Mountains is, where these different pools have different temperatures. And what they said too that I found interesting was these smaller pools can be adjusted temperature wise depending on the season. So it allows them to respond to the seasons a little bit better, because sometimes the big pool would be almost like not too cold in the winter, but it's
Not
warm.
Quite, yeah.
But
where
then
you want.
they have one big hot therapy pool at Glenwood, and that would maybe be too hot. So this gives them like a wide variety. And they also, a couple years ago, added sort of a family area with this splash pad. There's like a little like river raft ride. They added all this cool stuff, but I think this was the thing that was missing, was a little bit more of that the therapy pool, the mineral pools idea, these cascading waterfalls, all that kind of stuff. So they're opening it at the end of May. And I will just say, price-wise, Glenwood Springs has always been more affordable than Iron Mountain.
Oh, yeah.
By quite a bit. And Iron Mountain is timed. You only get a certain time. And at the Glenwood pool, you can be there from 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. if you want to be.
I wonder if that's going to change.
I kind of
with
wondered
the renovation.
I wondered that too, but I also thought maybe Iron Mountain will respond.
They could.
So,
they could. I think they actually just expanded a little bit as well.
They did. And I would say too, for the atmosphere, not just that it's a little bit more adult, it's right on Iron Mountain is right on the Colorado River, and it's much more chill.
You mean there's not a highway going right over top of the pool?
Can I read you this quote? Oh my God, I got to read you this quote. Because I-70 cuts through Glenwood, the sounds of the waterfall can block out highway noise and provide a spa-like feel, a Glenwood spokesperson said. So
God.
he was speaking to the fact that they added this new waterfall to cover up the highway noise, which is just a feat of modern humanity that I don't understand. But that is something that Iron Mountain always has a leg up on, is the atmosphere is definitely more spa-like, but Glenwood's trying to meet him there.
Yeah.
So...
Well, that's a story to watch. I know I'm probably both. Well,
I already have my family already has plans to go in the fall, so we will be there trying out the new pools.
Can't wait to see it. We should end the way we always do every Tuesday show. We love hearing from you all, our brilliant and hilarious listeners, about the things you care about. So every Tuesday, we share a comment or answer one of your questions that's come through on the CityCast Denver hotline. Bree, this time we've got a voicemail from Josh.
Bree, this is Josh from Centennial. I was just listening to your episode where you're talking about road rage with Bruce, who is the best. Not only because she's right about zipper merging, but I have to say I maybe tend towards a little bit of aggressive drive, and I have a little zippy car, and I don't like being going slow. But it's actually listening to you on this podcast talking about aggressive drivers on the road that I think of when I realize that I should be a little bit more calm, because if I cut someone off, it might be Bree. Also because I have a personalized license plate with my name on it, so I really need to make sure I drive considerately. But anyway, wanted to let you know you're kind of a driving role model for me to keep it under control on the roads. Thank you.
First of all, Josh, I love that you're like, I know that you love personalized license plates, and I have a personalized license plate on a zippy car, so I could take a picture of your license plate one day, sir. And if that motivates you to drive safer, I appreciate that. But also maybe this should motivate me to drive safer, because my road rage is pretty bad. That was great. Oh my God.
Yeah, that was really funny. I don't even know what to say. I've driven with you several times recently.
Yeah.
I've witnessed it.
Yeah, it's pretty bad.
I've seen it.
It's pretty bad.
I can verify it as an eyewitness.
I'm a terrible driver.
And I want to commend you, Josh. I was going to say you should call in and leave your personalized license plate, but maybe you did that intentionally, so Bree doesn't know it's you out there.
I was like, I wonder if I've already taken a picture of it. Is yours say "My 6 sons"? I saw that one the other day instead of "My 3 sons."
Yeah.
No. Well, Josh, thanks so much for calling in. That was great. I agree. Bruce is the best. That was a really fun conversation. Yeah. I'm talking about personalized license plates 24/7. So if you have a good one, I don't know, send me a picture of it.
Yeah, call in, leave us a text, leave us a voicemail, 720-500-5418. Once again, the CityCast Denver hotline is open at 720-500-5418.
Thanks, Paul.
See you next time.
That's all for today here on CityCast Denver. If you enjoyed the show, why not take a minute to tell Anthony Edwards about us? Rate the show wherever you get your podcasts and subscribe to our morning newsletter and learn more about us at denver.citycast.fm. We'll be back tomorrow morning with more news from around the city. See ya. Finish chugging your liquid death, Paul.
No, I've still got probably 12 ounces in here.